And this one is going to be my personal pick of the week for a few reasons. First of all, this is a game that's been around for a while, and you can have a lot of confidence in the design on this one. It's definitely a solid game, and a lot of people really love this one. A 7.9 is nothing to sneeze at. Something that I really like about this game is that even though it is a deck building game, the whole focus isn't on the deck building, and there's a bit of a worker placement element there, and a little bit of a push your luck element as well. I really do enjoy the deck building mechanism, and I do appreciate games like Dominion that are purely focused on deck building, but personally I find it a little exhausting doing that same loop of cycling through your cards over and over again, and I prefer to have my deck building as a portion of the game and not the entire game. And the way that this game blends a few other elements together is that players will be starting with a hand of 12 cards that they'll be able to build throughout the game. But players also start with a side quest card and a guild card, which will give them some special abilities, but also an objective that they can try to achieve early in the game. And on a player's turn, they're going to be drawing 6 cards into their hand, and then they're going to get to decide if they want to visit the village or if they want to visit the dungeon. And if players want to visit the village, there's a little bit of a worker placement element there because you're going to visit a specific spot in the village. And these different locations can help you gain tokens in future turns, upgrade your cards, heal your characters, or even gain new cards to add into your deck. This is interesting because you can do this action and then potentially use none of the cards that you just drew into your hand. But the second half of going to the village is that you can also use any cards that you drew that have a village action on them. And then you can choose to play those cards if you want, but then all your cards will get discarded whether you use them or not at the end of your turn. But if you'd rather go hunt some monsters, you can choose not to go to the village and go into the dungeon instead. And there's different levels to the dungeon, which is represented by the different tiers of cards here located on the right of the board. And players will be spending light from the different cards that they have or light tokens that they collected from the village. And that will help you get deeper into the dungeon. The deeper into the dungeon you go, the more rewarding and challenging monsters you can fight. But the interesting aspect here, and where a little bit of push your luck is introduced into the game, is that you're actually incentivized to stay into the dungeon because you'll stay at that tier of the dungeon as long as you don't go back to the village. So on your following turn, you don't have to spend those light tokens or cards to get into the deep layers of the dungeon. And that will allow you to get access to those stronger monsters at a lower cost. But of course the village is where you're going to be going to upgrade your character, heal your character, and get more resources to help you in the dungeon. And you'll be running out of all of that the longer that you stay in the dungeon, so you don't want to stay in there for too long. And the player that has the most victory points from victory points earned by the cards that they collected, as well as experience earned throughout the game, is going to win the game.